Today I want to share 15 things I sometimes forget to declutter in case anybody else makes the same mistakes I do. It might draw your attention to those areas. Plus, this was just a nice exercise for me as a way to think about what areas do I need to remember to prioritize as I try to minimize. The first category I sometimes forget to declutter are dog toys. I swear there's something about dog toys and the fact that I associate the dog toys with my cute dog Ginger that make them that much harder to let go of. I also think this category is actually important because if a dog toy is really worn out, it might actually be kind of dangerous for the dog to keep engaging with it. If the dog is ingesting parts of it or it's hurting its gums, it's just got to go. And sometimes if you have like a dog toy bin like I do or a box, you might forget what's at the bottom and that really those could go. So I just want to remember to regularly go through those dog toys and make sure everything's good, everything is something that's safe for Ginger and also that isn't just excess. The second one is kitchen utensils like spoons or spatulas. So often we end up having numerous different places in our kitchens where spoons or spatulas or other utensils end up, and so we might not even realize we have many duplicates of something, or we justify having many duplicates because we're often cooking. Realistically, so often we can minimize these areas and then your whole kitchen will feel more streamlined, easier to maneuver, and it'll make cooking that much easier because you also won't have as much of the dirty stuff around all the time. You'll be better about cleaning stuff faster so that you can use it again. A third category is old socks or socks I just don't like and avoid altogether. We all have those socks that have holes in them that we've been meaning to fix but never do, or the ones that are kind of worn out but we used to love, so we're kind of scared to let them go for some weird reason. But I think if you actually go through your socks and declutter them, especially the mismatched ones, etc., you'll notice socks take up a lot of space, and if you're able to minimize that, it might actually clear out some space in your wardrobe and make your life just that much easier. Streamlining your sock drawer is a good move. A fourth area I sometimes forget to declutter is old mail. But sometimes I'll have this pile of old mail, maybe the mail that just kind of reminds me of things, or is the mail that I don't need to get around to right away, and it ends up sitting on my desk for long periods of time. And so I just want to be better about going through that mail a little bit more regularly, because ultimately it can really rack up over time and add a lot of annoying paper clutter to your space. And let's be honest, paper clutter is some of the most annoying, tedious clutter to deal with. Another one is that throw blanket you never reach for. So often we have 2 or 3 throw blankets around the house that we have when we just need a quick blanket in the moment, but there's always that one that you just avoid that's never as comfy. Maybe it's a little scratchy or it doesn't have much weight to it or just nobody likes it in the household. Realistically, if there's that reject blanket, it might be a reject for a reason and it might be time to just let it go. I know that's something I'm very aware of and that I'm working on. A sixth one is old takeout menus. So often I have this tendency to keep these because I think I'll look up the information later when I want to order from that same place. But realistically, I end up just looking up the place on my phone anyway, so keeping the paper takeout menus ends up just cluttering up my kitchen or some drawer somewhere. That's something I'm trying to be better about. A seventh one are product manuals. I swear everything is online these days, at least for the most part. I mean, maybe you want to check online before you get rid of some of these, but in general, I will end up using YouTube tutorials or just look at the manual online if something is broken or I need to set it up or whatever, and those manuals just aren't that useful to me. I'm trying to be better at just getting rid of those paper manuals explaining a product when I get the product and have it set up for the first time. An eighth one are the little condiments that you get with your takeout or delivery. So often I have these little soy sauce packets or these little ketchup packets that I think, oh, I could use these in the future. They're convenient, and I throw them in a kitchen drawer and then they sit there for months and months, maybe even years. I'm just remembering to declutter these, not only the ones that exist in my kitchen, but also as I get takeout, try to use them in the moment. You know, if you don't want to be wasteful and you want to use up the condiments, maybe use the packages when they're there and easily accessible. Don't use the big jar of it that you already have if you want to be less wasteful, but once they get into the kitchen drawer, at least for me, they're like never to be touched again, and they just add to the clutter and the chaos. So I'm going to be better just eliminating these off the bat and not letting my sticky collector brain keep these items that I'm never going to use. A ninth category are items that I keep just because they were initially expensive or were valued to be expensive. I think there is such a disconnect between what is technically valuable or expensive versus what actually is valuable to you. And one example of this is I had a pair of Lululemon leggings that someone gave to me, and I was really excited because, Lululemon could be a little bit more expensive, and they just didn't fit right. They were always kind of like sliding down, and they were uncomfortable. So anytime I did any kind of workout, I was constantly pulling up these leggings, and I just wasn't liking it. Maybe I had the wrong size or something, but they were not working for me. But I couldn't bring myself to declutter them because they're expensive, because they're good quality, because they're valuable, and I kept them for way too long and even forced myself to wear them when they were uncomfortable. It kind of reminds me that so often what's valuable to us is based on what we like, what's comfortable, what's useful to us, and we don't need to measure everything by these external metrics of what's valuable. Especially because once you have the item and you've been using it for a while, it does lose value anyway, and so even when you say sell it online, it's not going to be as much as it initially was worth. So you don't have to feel so bad about it, in that realistically, sometimes those things aren't as valuable as they might seem. The 10th one is reusable totes that you just don't use. Now, I love a good reusable tote, especially the ones where they're strong, they can lift heavy things, and you can use them over and over again at the grocery store. It's great to be a little bit more environmentally friendly, all of that. But so often we gather them from different events or different gifts from people, and we have all these tote bags that we never use, and then we just keep them, and they take up space in our kitchens or in our back closets or wherever. And this is just a reminder to go through those reusable totes and just make sure you keep the ones that are the best ones. Also, so again, they're more easily accessible when you need them. An 11th one is Tupperware pieces without their mates. So basically, when you have a Tupperware that doesn't have a lid or something like that, it has got to go, especially if the lid has been lost for a while. So often I have had the tendency to keep those Tupperware pieces for way too long, but then it creates more chaos in my kitchen. Every time I try to put Tupperware away, everything is just falling over. It's a jumbled mess. When I do need a Tupperware, I have way too many pieces to sift through to find the right set, and it just creates a headache. So I'm trying to do better at just keeping a few Tupperware easily accessible in my kitchen, maybe a couple more in my pantry down in the basement as backup, but not overdoing it on the Tupperware, not having too many pieces of Tupperware, and then also just being okay with letting a Tupperware piece go when I just don't know where the lid is or it's just not really being used. Another category is makeup you haven't used in 6 or more months. And maybe for some people this is an obvious one, but I'm going to be honest. I have historically kept makeup sometimes for years and years. It's actually kind of gross because I know a lot of makeup ends up expiring and you should really get rid of it. But for some reason, sometimes I get attached to my makeup. Why would I care so much emotionally about a blush or a lipstick? That's such a tendency with stuff in general, just keeping it because you've kept it in the past. Is anyone with me on this? If you've had makeup for a long time and you haven't used it, it is time to toss it. And that's what I'm telling myself in the near future. I'm also trying to get better at getting rid of hangers in my closet that I avoid using, or just the excess hangers. So often we have this set of hangers on the side of our closet that we avoid or don't touch. Often they're the wire ones or the ones where things always fall off the edges. Just get rid of them. Again, it'll make your life easier. And I've been doing that for a little while now, and I enjoy my closet and going into my closet so much more. A 14th thing that I avoided decluttering for a while, but that recently I decluttered and it felt so good, was old paint. When we moved into this house, there was a bunch of paint both in the basement and the garage that was just old paint, and I didn't know what it was for, what it was from. And so when I finally went through and decluttered my garage recently, I had all these cans of paint. I tried to log the different colors and kind of make a record so that if I needed to figure out what a color was, maybe I could look back. And I called my local disposal site and checked on the correct way to dispose of the paint and everything, which is super easy to do. Don't let that intimidate you. We finally got rid of it. My parents actually helped me in this process because they're the best. And I'm so glad because it actually created a lot more space. And because it was really old paint, I don't think it's the paint I would want to use again. Once paint is opened and has been sitting there for years and years, it's probably not going to be that good. And also, realistically, I'm probably not going to use it. Like if I repaint something, I might just want to pick a new color anyway. For that reason, if you've got a bunch of old paint sitting around, think about safe disposal of it sometime soon. A 15th and final category of things that I sometimes forget to declutter, but that I'm trying to get better about, is those old cords or tech pieces that you're just not sure of. Maybe it's just been sitting somewhere in a back corner for a long time and you're not sure what this cord goes to or what this tech piece works for. I've realized so often those things go on sitting in a back corner for years and years. And if I really need a piece for something, I can always just go to the store and buy it. And even if I need it in that moment, will I know where that piece is or that that is the piece that I need for this tech thing? I don't know why, at least my brain feels like everything tech means it's expensive, means I should keep it forever no matter what, but that's just not the case, especially if you haven't used the items for years. That's something I'm working on. Hopefully this will help some of you if you have that tendency like I do. Anyway, those were just a set of things that I'm trying to remember to declutter. Hopefully it helped you out a bit. If you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button. It's a great way to support the channel. And you can also hit subscribe below if you want to see more videos like this one. I have a backlog of bingeable content if you're interested on minimalism, simple living, and building an empowering mindset. So if any of that interests you, please follow along. Anyway, that's most of what I've got for you today, but thank you so much for spending this little bit of time with me, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!